Okay, so what you need to understand what happened today with Robinhood, GameStop stock, and the Wall Street people, it's kind of interesting. So you have a bunch of different parties. Okay, so you've got first party number one, okay, GME, which is GameStop stock ticker, okay? This was originally at like $4, right? And so you have another group of people, these Reddit users over here, all right? There's a bunch of Reddit users who follow GameStop because it's a pastime company, like it's old video game stores, whatever, people used to go to it, blah, 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 dying company, whatever it is. So you've got this one guy, Steve Cohen, okay? He's the CEO of Chewy, which is an online dog retailer, all right? So he decided, because he's a fan of GameStop, to invest in GameStop and say, hey, you guys need to revamp your online platform, all right? This was about a year ago. He made like a $72 million actually, investment into GameStop, okay? So Reddit is a platform for social media that people talk about anything and everything, okay? So there's a bunch of Wall Street guys, right? Big money, no one likes them. Wall Street hedge fund dudes, okay? They are over on Reddit talking about how they are shorting a stock and shorting GME, okay? Shorting is a technique, okay, for investing, betting that the stock price, okay, of GME is going to go down, okay? So, and that pushes the stock down. And so GME was the most shorted stock on the entire stock market of all the hundreds of thousands of stocks that are listed on the stock exchange. GME was the most shorted by far by Wall Street, okay? So you've got a bunch of Wall Street guys bragging to a bunch of these Reddit guys who love GameStop. Okay, so what happened was Reddit people decided to get a bunch of people together to buy up a bunch of stock to increase the price. Okay, so what happened was these Reddit people did what is called a short squeeze. And so a short squeeze is a scenario where the price of a stock, so if you short a stock, say at $10, okay? And how it happens is you sell 10 shares of a short stock at $10, and then it drops down to $4, you're required to eventually buy those shares back, okay? And so if you sell 10 shares short at $10, you have $100 in your pocket, okay? But at some time, you're required to buy those shares back. You have to. It's just basically a contract with the person you're selling it with to purchase those shares. So the Wall Street guys, right, who shorted at $10 a share, are sitting at $4 a share. So they have a $60 gain because they have to buy those 10 shares back, right? So it would be $40 to buy the 10 shares back from that $100 that you have. So once you understand that principle, this is where things get interesting and weird. Okay? So what happened was all these Reddit users bought all these stocks and they created what is called a short squeeze. And so since there are millions of dollars shorting this stock at $4, all these people all bought at the same time, which caused a chain reaction of people for the stock price to increase in value. And so the stock price was originally at $4, but then it shot up to $25. And then once that happens, people catch wind and say, oh, I want to start making money on this stock because it just starts becoming euphoria. And then it shot to $50. And then it shot to $100. And then it shot to $125. And so remember the shorting principle that these guys sold shares short at $10, right? they now need to buy that stock back. Okay? So now that it's at $125, they sold 10 shares, so at $100, right? $100 in the share short. So, but with 10 shares, okay? They still have to buy 10 shares back. So, $125 with 10 shares. Now that $100, it costs the $100 that they sold the shares for. They now have to buy them back for $1,200.
12,000?
No, yeah, $12,500 for those shares, right? Because of how big the increase was. So, but the problem is, these Wall Street guys didn't buy 10 shares. They bought millions of shares. And so they had to buy millions of shares at $125 starting, okay? But you got to think of supply and demand. So if these guys have to buy back shares, right? But everyone's already buying these shares already and holding on to them, who are they going to buy from? Because these guys aren't going to sell their shares to those guys. So you have to buy them from someone else because they bought a ton of shares themselves, right? So what happened then is it creates a chain reaction, which is the short squeeze that we see. Because then all of a sudden, instead of selling these shares, these guys are now buying these shares starting at 125. So that pushes the stock price up to 250, right? And so they have to cover billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars lost because they had some 50 million shares short, right? 50 million shares short, buying at an average of 175, but push the stock up to 250, okay? And everyone is talking trash on these Wall Street guys because the Wall Street guys were betting for the company to fail, okay?
Okay.
So now, this is where Robinhood comes
Yes.
in, okay? So this is the backstory, and to understand...
Yeah, understand.
Okay? So you still have Reddit,
Okay.
all right? And then these Wall Street guys, right? So that's the short squeeze. That's what was going on.
That's what happens.
So that's what happened.
Okay.
And then so this is what's happening today.
Okay.
Okay? So Citadel Capital, okay, is a hedge fund that owns Cord Card Capital or something. I can't remember the name. Okay. And then these guys are the Wall Street guys, okay?
Okay.
These guys, this Citadel Capital owns the Wall Street guys that shorted this stock.
Gotcha.
That these Reddit people have beef with, right? Because this was a whole just big FU to Wall Street.
Right.
That's the whole thing that they're trying to do.
Okay.
So Citadel has a $14.9 billion loss. Their entire portfolio on their 2% stake. They had originally had, I think, like a $100 million, actually I think it was like $65 million short in GameStop, and it turned into a $14.9 billion loss. Really big.
Okay, so Robinhood.
Yes. So.
No,
this is important to understand because otherwise you don't understand it.
All right.
So. The same guys, Citadel, okay? The same guys who own this. So these guys are losing because this company was losing, right?
Okay.
The same guys who own this own Robinhood.
Wow.
Okay? This is why I need
This
to
is
explain
where
this
it
to you.
gets to be
Okay?
a drama Lifetime movie.
So these guys own Robinhood, okay?
So they got pissed.
Wall Street guys, $14.9 billion loss. Same guys who own it. Also own Robinhood. Okay?
Okay. This is getting juicy. Okay.
All right. So, Citadel. Right? Robinhood.
And the Wall Street guys. Oh, okay.
Robinhood halted trading. Okay? On GME stock. Okay?
Wow.
So listen, you know how, so the whole thing is this caused a huge problem from all the buying that they lost all their money, right? Okay, so they halted trading, but they didn't halt all trading. They only halted buying shares, okay, in GME. Right? So no buying.
Basically, the Reddit users cannot buy. I'm just asking
Yes. No buying. The Reddit users cannot buy anymore.
Right.
Retail investors, so aka Reddit users, aka the little guy.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
The little guy, the blue collar workers, the white collar poor workers, right?
Right.
The big bad, the ugly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could no longer buy GME.
Okay.
So, but you're still allowed to sell it. Okay? Which is what shorting is. Shorting, okay? Selling shares to drive price down. Okay? So, if you're shorting something, if you want to short something, to sell it, because if you sell something, right, you can only sell, you can't buy, the price cannot go up.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to just keep driving it down. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these people wanted to keep buying shares to keep driving the price upwards because it got to 485. Okay, so when they halted the buying, the second they did it, the second they announced it, it went from 485 down to 270.
Wow.
48% loss. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, these guys who own Robinhood, who also own the Wall Street firm that lost all their money,
Mm-hmm.
made that decision
Mm-hmm.
to beat the Reddit people.
Wow.
So they...
And guess who agrees on that?
And that's why everyone's pissed off.
All parties united. Once and for all.
Yes. And so, honestly, you know it's a crazy day when Ted Cruz
That's what me and Daddy were talking about.
agrees with AOC.
Yes, and
Right?
that's what got us started. Fired up this morning.
And
We said,
so...
you're still on. We said,
Yeah.
can't wait for T-Bone to get home and break this down for us.
No, seriously. So that's what happened.
Yeah, no.
So... That's why I had to explain the whole backstory because it
I
makes sense. Because
understand.
otherwise, it doesn't
I
make sense.
know.
This is a very complicated thing,
Yeah, no.
right? And so that's the whole issue.
Okay.
Is that the Wall Street guys,
Mm-hmm.
Wall Street, cheated to save money
Wow.
versus the Reddit people
Oh, what a
through
world.
Robinhood, right?
Yep. Owned by the Citadel.
Owned, which is back up here.
Yep. Thanks.
You're welcome.